Is a nuclear agreement with Iran getting closer? As another round of talks with the United States resumes, Iran watchers wonder if Israel will find terms of a negotiated agreement acceptable. Prime Minister Netanyahu insists that an agreement include the dismantling of the Islamic Republic's nuclear enrichment program. Well, joining us with more is Ramesh Sepehrrad. Dr. Sepehrrad is a George Mason University scholar, VP of Technology Risk and Compliance at Comcast, and board member of the Organization of Iranian American Communities. Dr. Sepehrrad, are the Ayatollah and his negotiators stalling, playing Donald Trump, or are they serious about resolving this dispute over the country's nuclear development program?
If you look at the track record of the Iranian regime, they know nothing but stalling and buying time, and really there is no goodwill at the table here. They are playing the same playbook that they have done with the previous administrations, whether it was the Obama administration or the Biden administration. So I think when we look at the holistic behavior of the Iranian regime, we have to really go back and understand, what does this regime stand for? It stands for terrorism, it stands for weapons of mass destruction, and they want to get their hands on the bomb. And they want to use these negotiations as a way to legitimize their terrorism at home and continue to bolster the IRGC's web around the world. And we need to really ensure that this regime is not going to be positioned for success through these negotiations. It should be the Iranian people that are positioned for success, who are calling for the change of regime.
Well, let's talk about that, because both President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu say Iran will never be allowed to possess a nuclear weapon, suggesting they'll take military action to prevent that from happening. So what would the Iranian people like to see happen?
I think what the Iranian people want is the recognition of the legitimate fight against this regime. When we talk about meaningful change, we need to really look at the message that's coming from inside Iran when they say down with the dictators, when they say democracy and freedom and Republic of Iran is what they're asking for. But when you look at the message in the protests and the ongoing strikes and any nationwide protests, people are saying, down with the dictators, be it the Shah or the mullahs. So we really have to take that message from the people of Iran to heart and understand, how can we better support them as they are calling for a regime change in Iran. And to best support them is to recognize their right to overthrow this regime.
JNS reports that Swedish parliament member Ali Reza Akandi, an Iranian immigrant, believes a Libya-like deal to dismantle Iran's nuclear program would be insufficient. He says if Israel and the U.S. launch military strikes, they could destroy 1,000 sites and the regime would still remain. So he says the ultimate goal must be to topple it. So do you agree or disagree? What do you think?
The call for regime change, it's coming from inside Iran. We should agree with the message that's coming from the people inside Iran, who are saying we don't want this regime, and they're paying it with their lives. When you look at the young men and women in the streets fighting the IRGC, fighting the Basiji forces at the cost of their lives. When you look at the political prisoners that are fighting until the last minute before they're executed. If you look at the execution rate in Iran, this regime, since August, since the new president has taken over, Pezeshkian, has killed and executed more than 1,000 people. Why would the regime have to execute this many people? Because they are afraid of the people's power, and they are afraid of the organized movement for change that is taking more and more momentum. And no one should undermine the power of the Iranian people and their organized resistance movement when it comes to change and democracy in Iran.
Well, can it bring about real change? I mean, if the U.S. adopts a policy of regime change rather than negotiation, nothing has worked up to this point to bring the Ayatollahs down. So what will it take?
I think the policy of regime change that we experienced up to this point really hasn't worked. Obviously, there's ample examples of that, but I think policy of regime change from within Iran is the new approach that we need to take. When the people of Iran are resistant against this regime, and that resistance movement has been in place in the last 4 decades. It was the Iran's National Council of Resistance of Iran, the most organized and resilient and recognized opposition to this regime who exposed Iran's nuclear threat to the world. They're the one who exposed Iran's missiles program. They're the ones who told the world that this regime is trying to get its hands on a nuclear bomb. And they also exposed Iran's web of proxies in the region. So it is the people of Iran who understand the most about what does this regime change mean. And we should really adhere to that message that is coming from Iran's organized opposition movement that really has this 10-point plan for the future of Iran that stands for the separation of church and state, stands for a non-nuclear, secular democracy, ballot box, where the people of Iran can actually decide who they want to have in the office instead of the theocracy that we're dealing with under this regime.
Okay, more support for the people. Dr. Ramesh Sepehrrad of the Organization of Iranian American Communities, thank you for sharing your time and insights. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.